Hi, so this is a video following on from our video last week about how to write a news story. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video from a news story and then explain to you how to take notes from that story and then how to turn those notes into a news story. I apologize that the video goes for 14 minutes, I really do, but some of it's just watching the news video rather than necessarily writing. Hopefully you can try to get through it and then try to listen to the whole thing, because it's really important that you understand how to structure those stories together. And then the task is going to be that you're going to have to watch a news story from the internet and then write your own, take notes like I'm going to, and then make your own news story by writing it down, okay? I hope this video is good, and I do apologize. I am making an effort from now on to make the video shorter. This is the last long video that I made. From now on, they're all going to be shorter. So thanks for watching. Okay, we're going to watch this story about a tornado that hit Adelaide a few days ago, okay? You might ask why I'm showing this story. Honestly, so many of the stories about COVID, and I just don't want to do a story about that. So we're just going to watch this story. If it does lag, I apologize. I'm trying to fix that up, but let's hope it works. Wait, let's go back to the start.
Wild storm unleashing its fury at Henley Beach South. The sudden burst of heavy rain and wind smashing windows, uprooting trees and blowing apart a veranda.
This is a tornado come through here. It was huge. I've never seen anything quite like it.
The terrifying windstorm tearing through Yorktown Crescent around 10 o'clock this morning.
It went black completely, and then trees started to fly around and things started to move quickly. I opened the front door because it looked like it was raining pretty heavy, and I could see the wind was blowing like buggery, and it nearly took the front door out of my arms.
Over as quickly as it started, the destruction left behind showing just how strong the weather event was.
Quite fast, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of horror.
The Bureau of Meteorology says it is likely it was a tornado with wind gusts in excess of 100 kilometres an hour.
It whipped up so quickly and you could feel the force in the air.
The wild winds so ferocious they caused damage across several suburbs. The front of a car workshop torn off in Kintore Street at Theberton, a brick wall reduced to rubble. 3 people were inside the building at the time.
I know one of them was standing right next to the door when it happened, and he heard the loud rain came out and the wall fell just as he stood near it.
Emergency crews kept busy this afternoon with a big task ahead.
We got a
The worst of the weather has now passed and the winds will ease overnight. Tomorrow we can expect the sun to return for what's set to be one of the nicest days we've seen in a while, and I'll have the full forecast just a little later, Brenton.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just try to turn that off a bit. Nope, wrong one. Okay, all right. So it's really important that when you are doing your news stories, oops, sorry, still going. Just give me 1 sec. I think I fixed it. Okay. Now, after we've done this, it's really important that when you're going to do it yourself, sorry, back. Now it's just lagging. Okay. Okay, when you're writing a story, it's really important that you take as many notes as you can to ensure that you have all the information. Okay, but what I'm just going to suggest is if you're writing a news article from a TV, you just watch it once without having to worry at all about taking notes. Just watch it in its entirety, so you're focusing on what's actually happening. And then the second time you watch it, I want you to stop and pause. Every time something important is mentioned, pause to write it down. Okay? But it's really important that you write down in your own words. I can't stress that enough. Plagiarism is the #1 thing that affects children in terms of they're handing in work that it's just not their work. And it's really hard. Once you write down notes in their words, it's really hard to change it into your words. But if you write it down in your own words, okay, that will make it easier. What I mean by plagiarism is you can't just take things off a website and then use it in your work and pretend like you did it. It's not your work, okay? And it's important, but however, it is important that you take down all the quotes exactly as they said it. Okay, so if they say a quote, you need to take down that quote exactly as they said it. Okay, but try not to use your opinion unless the story allows you to. So in the story about the lottery, it's okay to use words like amazing or like it's amazing or it's fantastic, because that story, it's not like anyone's going to find that story bad if you use your opinion. But if we're using other stories about things that happen and we use our opinion about what the driver was like and we have our opinion about how bad they were, it's just not our job to do that. Our job is to report the facts, and then the audience can decide what they think. Okay, so try not to use your opinion. But after watching this, and I watched it once and I just watched through, and then I watched it a second time and I just went through with a pen and paper and I just stopped it every few seconds and took down notes. And these are the notes that I took down. Let me see if I can get it back up. Okay, so the notes that I took down was a freak tornado has hit Adelaide. Done. It happened in Henley Beach South in the western suburbs of Adelaide, South Australia. I wrote that down. It hit in Yorktown Crescent. Apparently they only really hit one street, which is a bit weird. And it hit around 10 o'clock. That's going to be important. It happened on Wednesday, the 20th of July. They didn't say that in the story, but they did have it up the top. It lasted about, one resident said it only lasted about 2 or 3 minutes. The Bureau of Meteorology has said that that it was most likely a tornado and that winds had reached 100 kilometers an hour. It damaged several suburbs. The emergency crews are busy cleaning up the mess now. The worst has passed. I should be past PASSED, sorry. And clear weather is predicted for the next few days. And my quote was from one of those men, Greg Crawford. It said his name down the bottom. It says it went black, trees started to fly around and things started to move. Now that I've got all those notes, I think I have enough to turn it into those 4 paragraphs that I want. And now we're going to try and do that. So bear with me as I try and fix my screen so that we can see that. Okay, so I've fixed everything up, so I'm ready to go. I've got my notes up the top and I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to go and make sure I remember that my paragraph 1 is just going to talk about when it happened, where it happened, what happened, and who it happened to. The who part in this is not as important because it happened to a whole bunch of people. So we're just going to get what we can. But the first thing we're going to do is have a title. So the term they kept using was freak tornado, which I get is a bit strange, but I guess it's because it's such a rare event in the suburbs of Adelaide in Australia is to have that happen. So freak tornado rips through Adelaide suburb. Now you could probably say that my my title is a little bit too exaggerated, like rips through. We could talk about that later. By David West. We're going to talk about how to set this out later. We're not really doing it properly at the moment, but let's just do what we've got to do for now. All right. So let's get started. My first paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to look at my notes. I'm going to say on Wednesday morning, a freak tornado tore through the western suburbs of Adelaide, lasting several minutes. Done. That's my first paragraph done. I don't really get into much specific about what suburb it is. It was in the western suburbs of Adelaide. I'm going to do that now. Okay, my second paragraph, more detail in all those things. I'm going to look through some of my notes and say it happened in Henley Beach. I'm going to look at having it at 10 o'clock in the morning, that it lasted for between 2 and 3 minutes, that it really reached 100 k's an hour, damaged several suburbs. Okay, all right. But I don't know exactly, like let's say 10 o'clock, but I don't think that's an exact, like the chance that it happened at exactly 10 o'clock is not necessarily, I don't think that possible. So we're going to write at now you guys get to see how bad I am at typing. At approximately 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, the Adelaide suburb of Henley Beach was surprised and shocked or terrified. I don't think terrified is the right word. I'm not sure. When a freak tornado ripped through their suburb. Okay, so I've put in here, sorry, need a space here, at approximately 10 o'clock, so that's a more specific when on Wednesday morning. The Adelaide suburb of, that's a more specific version of where it was, and also how they felt. So it's starting to get to the how part. Now I'm going to get into how long it lasted for. Okay, the tornado only lasted for between 2 to 3 minutes, but left behind a path of destruction. It's important to know that even if things aren't in your notes, you're allowed to add them in, as long as you're not making stuff up. Okay. And then I'm talking about that thing about the Bureau of Meteorology, which is really important to have. So I'm going to write the Bureau. I'm going to put a capital because they're a place. Bureau, such a tricky word to spell. Bureau of Meteorology has said that the event was most likely, that's some really bad spelling, a tornado, as winds reached up to 100 kilometers per, that's not how you write kilometers, per hour. Now, one thing I didn't talk about in the top part, which was which I'm going to put in there and say, luckily no one was injured in the event. I think it's really important to write that, because otherwise you're not answering a question that's really important. Now that's my second paragraph done. At approximately 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, the Adelaide suburb of Henley Beach was surprised and shocked when a freak tornado ripped through their suburb. The tornado only lasted for between 2 or 3 minutes, but left behind a path of destruction. The Bureau of Meteorology has said that the event was most likely a tornado, as winds reached up to 100 kilometers per hour. Luckily, no one was injured in the event. Now remember, I said paragraph 3 is going to be a quote. Now, there were so many quotes in that. Some of them were better than others, but I'm trying to get one that felt like the emotions in their quote. So I'm going to write, when asked about the event, local resident, which means basically the guy who lived there, Greg Crawford. Now, I got his name, remember, off the screen. Stated, you can say said, doesn't matter. Stated it went black. It's really important to make sure when you're doing this that you're quoting exactly as they said it. Okay. Started to fly around. Things started to move. Remember from our thing about Doug? Things started to move. Okay. Sorry. All right. Things started to move. Great. Now the last thing is what's going to happen now. So the two things that are in there that happen now would be that the emergency crews are now cleaning up, because that's what's happening after the tornado, and also that things aren't going to get worse. Okay, so they're the two things I want to make sure I put in my last paragraph. So emergency crews have now been called in and are busy cleaning up the mess. And I'm going to use the word debris, which also just means like stuff that's been knocked around. And then I'm going to say, luckily the worst of the weather, the bad weather, I don't know if that's the word I would use, but anyway, the bad weather has passed and clear weather is predicted for the next few days. All right, that is it. That is my entire thing. First paragraph's just basic who, what, where, when. Then the next paragraph, more details, adding in how and why. Third paragraph, get some quotes. Fourth paragraph, what's going to happen as a result of this. It's as simple as I could possibly make it for you guys. I know it's been a long video. I appreciate that you've watched through, and it's hard sometimes watching me type. But unless you watch it, you're not going to be able to do what the task asks you to do, okay? And then each time we do a video, we're going to get more and more specific about fixing up each paragraph and fixing up the rest of it to make sure it's all perfect, okay? All right, thanks for watching.